Look, the Toronto Blue Jays are not just trying to be relevant this season. They are coming in as reigning American League champions and AL East Division winners. Let that sink in for a second. This is not a rebuild year. This is not a wait-and-see situation. This is a team that tasted the top of the mountain in 2025, lost some key pieces in the offseason, and is now standing at spring training saying, "We are still coming for it." And honestly, that kind of mentality coming into a new season is exactly what you want to see from a franchise that spent years being good, but not quite good enough. Now, before we get into everything, I want to talk about John Schneider because I think people are sleeping on this man and what he's actually done for this organization. When he took over in July of 2022, replacing Charlie Montoyo mid-season, a lot of people weren't sure what they were getting. Was this just a temporary fix? Was this a guy the front office was just using to finish out a season before making a real hire? And what happened? The man went out and posted a 3-3 and 257 record. 3 playoff appearances, a second-place finish for AL Manager of the Year. He didn't just keep the ship from sinking, he turned it into something legitimate, and last year he guided this team all the way to an American League championship. So yeah, when people ask whether Schneider deserves a contract extension, the answer should be obvious. And the conversations are happening. Schneider spoke with media on February 21st, and he was honest about where things stand. He said, "We're talking, and I know there's nowhere else I'd rather be." He even called himself a small cog in the whole operation, which tells you a lot about the kind of guy he is. He's not out here demanding a massive deal or threatening to walk if he doesn't get paid. He's focused on the team, focused on getting better, and he trusts that the Blue Jays organization knows how he feels. That's a manager who has his priorities straight. And for a fan base that has watched managers come and go, that kind of grounded attitude is honestly refreshing. Mark Shapiro already got his 5-year extension back in December, and that signals that the Blue Jays are committed to building something stable at the top. The president and CEO locked in, the manager openly wanting to stay and having discussions with the organization. That kind of continuity matters more than people realize. You look around the league at teams that are constantly cycling through leadership, and you see the chaos that follows. Toronto is trying to avoid that. They want stability. They've earned stability. And extending Schneider is the next logical step in protecting what they've built. Now let's talk about the roster, because there are real questions that need real answers heading into this season. Bo Bichette is gone. And look, that's not a small thing. Bichette was a staple of this lineup for years. He was energy. He was production. He was a guy the fan base connected with. Losing him creates a void, not just statistically but emotionally too. And Toronto cannot afford to pretend that void doesn't exist. They have to fill it. Which brings us to Kazuma Okamoto. The Blue Jays signed Okamoto this past offseason to a 4-year, $60 million deal, and they are slotting him in as their starting third baseman. Now, the questions around Okamoto are legitimate. He's coming over from Japan, which means we haven't seen him face MLB pitching. That unknown factor is always present when a player makes that transition. Some guys come over and dominate immediately. Some guys need an adjustment period. And some guys, for whatever reason, just don't translate. So where does Okamoto fall? Here's what Sportsnet insider Shidavidi said on February 18th during an appearance on Sportsnet 590. He said the Blue Jays believe Okamoto is going to be fine at third base, and that confidence played a significant role in their decision to sign him in the first place. They feel he's going to be a competent defender at that position, and having Andres Gimenez to his left at shortstop helps mitigate the need for Okamoto to cover a ton of range. Gimenez is one of the better defensive shortstops in the game, so that partnership on the left side of the infield is actually a really smart piece of roster construction. Davidi also pointed out that Okamoto has plenty of arm strength to make the throws he needs to make from third. There's also an adjustment teams sometimes make with international players where they play a little deeper to give themselves more time and to cut off more balls in the hole. The Blue Jays are exploring that with him too, so the defensive profile, at least on paper, looks manageable. The tools are there, the arm is there, the positioning can be adjusted, and he's got Gimenez next to him to take some pressure off. But here's the thing Davidi made sure to say, and this is important. None of this has been truly tested yet. Spring training hasn't put him in enough real situations to know definitively how all of this is going to look when the regular season gets going and there's something on the line every single night. That's the honest reality. Okamoto is absorbing an enormous amount of information right now. New country, new league, new language, new teammates, new coaching staff, new everything. That's a massive adjustment, and you cannot fully evaluate someone who is in the middle of absorbing all of that simultaneously. What you can do is watch how he handles it. And by all accounts, this is a guy who is taking everything in. He's focused, he's engaged, and the Blue Jays clearly believe they made the right call investing $60 million over 4 years into this player. If Okamoto can give them solid defense at third and bring the kind of offensive production that made him a standout in Japan, then Toronto has done a genuinely impressive job replacing some of what they lost this offseason. Because at the end of the day, that's the challenge every championship contender faces. You reach the top, people notice, and then people leave. Contracts get expensive, other teams come calling, you lose pieces. And then the real test of an organization is whether they can retool without rebuilding, whether they can stay competitive without starting over. The Blue Jays right now are right in the middle of that test. Schneider is still there, Shapiro is locked in, Gimenez is on board, Okamoto is in camp trying to prove he belongs, and this roster still has enough talent to make a legitimate run at the World Series. Whether that happens depends on a lot of things: health, depth, whether guys like Okamoto translate, whether the pitching holds up, whether Schneider continues to manage at the level he's been at since taking over. There are a lot of variables. But what I can tell you is this team is not walking into 2026 hoping for something to happen. They are walking in expecting to compete, and that mindset alone separates them from a lot of teams in this league right now.